Thank you for watching this video on what is critical gender theory. We're going to explore critical theory as a concept, some variations of critical theory, and then more specifically break down gender theory and how it's influencing society today. First of all, what is critical theory? So you hear these words, critical theory. It's a mechanism used to deconstruct scientific and social norms with the ultimate purpose of influencing greater societal change. This change can be achieved by redefining those scientific and social norms or by leaving them completely undefined altogether. You'll see that as we go through the presentation, how that plays out. So where did critical theory originate? So it has its roots in Marxism. Karl Marx is the author of the Communist Manifesto. He sought to convince people in poverty and other marginalized groups that power structures in society were built to oppress them. Only by rejecting these systems and institutions and embracing communism could they ever be equal and free. And what we know about history is that was a lie. So how does this apply in current times? So modern critical theory takes the same approach as Marx. It asserts that things like race, gender, sexuality are all merely social constructs built to oppress. It seeks to break down these power structures in order to redefine or simply undefine these basic areas of human existence. We'll begin to see that as we talk about probably the most recognized area of critical theory, which is critical race theory. So critical race theory says race is a social construct built by white Europeans to oppress people of color and other marginalized people. Therefore, all systems of power are inherently racist and must be deconstructed. It also says that all white people are inherently racist and must discover their white privilege and atone for it. So the basic two tenets of race theory are that systems are racist and all white people are racist. If you'll go to YouTube and watch this video by Dr. Keith Brooks, there's not a link, just a screen capture, but you can search. I firmly believe to understand what these people think, you have to watch these videos explaining their views from their point of view, and that's the only way you can really understand it and fight against it. Another common critical theory is critical queer theory. Basically says that binary gender and heterosexuality are social constructs, that humans do not have to define their gender or sexuality in any way. If you'll go to YouTube and watch the video that's captured here, you'll understand more about critical queer theory. Now we need to really get to the nuts and bolts of gender theory. So we've explained what critical theory is, some common applications, but really need to start to break down gender theory, what it is, and how it impacts our society, you, your school districts, our daily lives. So we're going to talk about really three basic foundational concepts of gender theory. The first is that gender is merely a social construct. The idea that two genders are defined by human genitalia is an arbitrary concept created and perpetuated by society. And this is what these people believe. It's the first, really, this is the basic tenet of gender theory. It's completely deconstructing the idea of gender, how it's been known through human history. And it's also the first attempt to separate biology from gender. If you want to understand more about this first basic concept, go search this video that I've referenced here on YouTube. It's a short video and it'll help explain this first foundational concept of gender as a social construct. The second foundation of gender theory is that gender is assigned at birth. It's not part of the biology, it's assigned at birth. So what they believe is that assigning the male gender to a baby born with a penis and assigning the female gender to a baby born with a vagina is wrong. Any human born with a penis can be male, female, or no gender at all. In other words, non-binary. Any human born with a vagina can be male, female, or no gender at all, non-binary. So again, this is a further breakdown, a further separation of biology from gender, and it expands on the concept of gender being a social construct and goes into more about being undefined, what we talked about earlier as undefined, completely undefining the concept. The third basic foundation area of gender theory is that gender is performed. Human gender is not part of essential existence. It's performed by the individual, either by choice or by conforming to the pressure of historical societal norms. So what they mean by performance is that, again, your gender is assigned at birth. You're born with a penis. You're assigned male, and you perform male gender until such point as you have the opportunity to decide if that's the gender you want to perform the rest of your life, or if you want to change your quote-unquote gender identity. That's your opportunity to start performing a different gender or no gender at all. So the video that I pictured here, if you go to YouTube and watch that video, you'll get more of a concept of performing gender. So what do we, knowing and understanding those general concepts, what do I look for? It's important to remember that your kindergartner is not going to come home from the first day of school with a book that says critical gender theory. Any critical theory first gets introduced to a system by someone in the system practicing it, specifically someone in power. So it's not obvious, it's subtle. And this person in power in a school system could be a school board member, a principal, a teacher. In business, it's HR or diversity office. But it's someone practicing these concepts and subtly introducing these concepts into the system in various ways. So when you ask the question, what do I look for? It's not going to be obvious. So it's practice. So how is critical gender theory practiced, whether it's in school or anywhere else? Well, here are some of the ways. So one of the first things to look for is guidance. This could be from a principal or a school district to eliminate gender terms from normal communication. So that means eliminating the use of the word boys and girls, male and female. So this could be take just an umbrella concept of just taking those terms out of the system, not using them in any way, and that could be on anything in the school system. Not allowing guidance to not allow students to be divided into groups of boys and girls. So this could be a principal telling the teachers, you can't divide students into boys lines and girls lines for any purpose. It could be guidance not to address students as boys and girls, because so you could get an email from a principal or the district that says, hey, please do not say good morning, boys and girls. You should say good morning, students, good morning, children. It could also be things like asking students for their pronouns. So this is typical on the first day of school that teachers will say, we'll go around the room, tell us your name and your pronouns. This is very, very common. Also allowing bathroom use based on gender identity. So this is a tougher one because a tougher one to fight because there are laws around this. And frankly, this is an area a lot of people are focused, and it's a battle that's really already been lost. But it is a way to be aware of what's going on and seeing how these things are being practiced in your school district. Building gender neutral bathrooms is another way. But the bathroom issue is sadly that issue's been largely lost. If you want to fight these theories in your school, it's got to be at this most basic form of eliminating gender terms from their daily use. So what are some other key phrases and words to look for? Well, one of the things you want to be able to do is identify the person, the people that believe this and practice these concepts. And so there's a very specific vocabulary, and it's some of the things that's been already talked about in this video, but using the term assigned at birth, I mean, we talked about that. Using the term gender neutral, or social constructs or power structures, performing gender, gender performance. These are all terms that you can look for, listen for when you're talking to people, whether it's administrator or a teacher or superintendent or school board. Listen for these words, listen for these terms and concepts. And again, it's going to be very, very subtle. It's not going to be overt. It's not going to be hitting them on the head at first, especially in elementary, middle school, in junior high and high school. A lot of these things are already being taught, but a lot of it's subtle, and you need to listen for it. So knowing all this, what do I do? So I would say tomorrow, go talk to your superintendent. Understand, based on what you've seen in this presentation, what is currently accepted in the district. So in addition to the bathroom issues, understand, is it acceptable for a specific principal to tell their teachers to stop using boys and girls? Is that accepted in the district? What other things are accepted in the district? What's law, what's not law, what's mandated by the district, what are areas where they just look the other way? Communicate your position. And then after, just educate yourself on what all the counter arguments would be to their current stance. And then I would say go speak at a school board meeting. A lot of school board meetings will give parents 5 minutes to talk. Take this video, take notes, break it down into simple terms, educate them about critical gender theory and how it's being subtly practiced. And then take it a step further. Ask them to implement policies that prohibit those practices. Ask them to prohibit asking students for pronouns. Ask them to prohibit administrators from eliminating gender terms from schools, because there's no laws around any of those things whatsoever. And again, these are the first steps in radicalizing children, students, especially in elementary and middle school. And then when they get to junior high and high school, they're more overtly taught some of these concepts as truth. And in their younger years, they've been groomed, because if these things are being practiced, they've gone through elementary school and middle school without ever hearing the words boys and girls. And so they've been manipulated and brainwashed to think that that's normal, that those words don't exist and shouldn't exist. And when they get to high school, they're taught that, and they're more susceptible to believing those concepts and these more radical concepts. So as you oppose, there will be tricks and tactics used to silence you. So one of the things people will say, this might be a school board member, we're just trying to protect the kids that are struggling with their identity. Well, your answer to that is you can protect those kids without violating the rights of the rest of the student population. And that's true. Another pushback you'll get is, well, we should be more concerned about blank. drugs, depression, suicide. Your answer to that is we're capable of addressing multiple issues at one time. All of these issues are important to the safety of our children. And then, frankly, you're going to run into people who agree with you. It might be a superintendent, it might be a principal, and they want you to be silent. They'll say, if we don't make these issues public, then maybe we don't have to follow them. Do not fall into that trap, ever. The answer is, it's too late. It's already happening. And that thinking is why many of these areas, many of these radical concepts have taken over our society and our school districts, especially because nobody's fought against them, because they just hoped that they would go away. The only way to eliminate these ideas is to oppose them ferociously from the very beginning. And